Hello, Dr. L here. This video is a little tutorial on how to use the flux line indicator in NinjaTrader. The flux line indicator is available from energyfieldtrading.com. It's a website built by my son to market our NinjaTrader indicators. We have version 7 working. Version 8 is going to be done in the future. But this is a tutorial on how to use this very powerful indicator. It will not show you which flux lines to set, but I'm going to go through the parameters on the indicator and explain to you what they are and how to use them. First of all, this chart here is a daily chart of the S&P E-mini from back in August 2018 until now. It's now Valentine's Day 2019. So I have this indicator selected, and I'm going to show you that if I click on indicators here, it won't let me do anything because I already have one open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, and this is the standard box, or the standard chart. If I click on indicators, you can see that in my list of indicators, I have several EFT indicators. The one I'm talking about here is this flux line, EFT flux line. And I've added it to my indicator down here, and I want to put it right there. And now I'm going to move this box over here so that I can show you what these values are. And now notice you're not seeing anything, and that's because one of the parameters on this indicator is a show indicator. So if you add a bunch of flux lines to your chart, you may find out later that they are cluttering up your chart. You may just want to not display them, but you don't want to delete them because you probably want to look at them later. But I'm going to turn on show here as true, come down here and apply it, and suddenly you're seeing a bunch of lines going through. Now, each one of these dots is a flux line value. Now, unlike indicators like moving averages, these are not computed from data of price. So you cannot click on them, right-click on them and get the properties. To get the properties, you have to come up here and select indicators and then click on the indicator in the box just like I just did. Okay, so what are you seeing here? We're seeing a bunch of yellow lines going up, and here you see prices are sort of climbing up here. So what are these lines? Well, these are electric field flux lines. These particular ones are the planet Mercury plotted heliocentrically, and that means centered on the sun. You can also plot them geocentrically, which is what most astrologers do, but I've found the heliocentric ones are the best for trading. But at any rate, if you want to change this reference, you just click on it. Gives you a little drop-down box here, and you can pick geocentric, and I can apply that to the chart. So now you see geocentric doesn't move up and down as much, and has these periods where it goes backwards, and that's Mercury retrograde. I don't use retrograde much. I don't find it very useful in what I trade, but you can do geocentric or heliocentric flux lines. Now, what is a flux line? First of all, a flux line is simply the planet's position plotted on some scale. And let me just switch this back to heliocentric, and I'm going to just take the first harmonic and plot it, and I'll explain to you what this is. Okay, this is the position heliocentric of the planet Mercury as it's moving through the sky. Now, from that planet's position, you can add or subtract what are called aspects, and those are just degree offsets. But first of all, how do you map a planet's position to price? Well, you have to use a scale factor. Planets position heliocentrically will go from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. And you may have price like the S&P years run up 2,900. So you have to scale that by setting up some scale factor. And in this flux line tool, that's called the wheel of, and you can set a number here. And this 360 means that every 360 degrees of price is a full circle. So Mercury takes 88 days to move 360 degrees. If you're using this scale, it'll move 360 points in 88 days. So this is basically a 1-to-1 scale factor for the year. It's rounded off to 360 for technical reasons, but basically this is the scale factor that's most dominant, and you see it most on daily and longer charts. Okay, so now I set a 360 degree, and every one of these is Mercury's position plus 0 degrees. So this is the Mercury's position coming up here. This is that same position repeated plus 360 more degrees. So that's a wheel of 360. You can change this to any number you want, but you just have to type in the number. Let me just type in 720. That would be saying you want to scale prices to a wheel of 720. If I do that and apply that, you're going to see that these lines move up faster, but they're further apart. They'll be 720 points apart or degrees apart versus 1. But now you can see that there's kind of a slope factor in here. I'm not going to go into how to set these to match up with price and figure out exactly where the turns are. All I want to do is show you how to use this indicator. So now this first aspect type 1, you can do two things, and by default it's set to a text string. Aspects could be any interval from any number between 0 and 360, and this is taking every 90 degrees and then every 45 degrees. So that'll set 8 lines per circle. So if I apply that, you're going to see a lot more lines. And this is on the wheel of 720. I'm going to kick that back down to 360 as I go here. Okay, there you can see the electric field flux lines, and every one of these moves up here is 45, 90, 135, 180, and you can actually use these intervals to help you find price highs and lows. Here we've gone up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and kept hitting tops along there. So I'm not going to go into the trading like I said, but I do want to show you that that's a text string indicator. Suppose that you wanted a weirdo. Instead of 225, or let's just take this last one. Instead of 315, you wanted 303. Just enter that number and apply it. So you can set your aspects to anything you want. Now you see this gap over here? This is the one at 303 degrees, and then this is the next one up at 0. So I can set the spacing on these lines so that I can set anything I want. Now normally I just want to know what the aspect harmonics are. So basically I can set that up to aspect harmonics. Let me just set 3 here. Aspect harmonics means I'm going to take the wheel of 360 and divide it by this number, which will give me 120, and it's going to give me lines every 120 degrees. So if I apply this, now you see there are the lines every 120 degrees. Flux lines go up because the planets are rotating clockwise, but there are also electric field flux lines going down. And to show those, there's a direction setting here. Change this from positive to negative and apply it. So if you create 2 sets of flux lines, you can see the forces driving prices down and the forces driving prices up. So now let me just go through a couple other settings here. Chart text is over here on the side. You'll see a little label here, -M00. That tells you that's the negative flux line with an aspect of 0. And down here it's repeated with an aspect of 0 because I'm using an aspect harmonic here of 1. If I change that to 2 and apply that, you'll get twice as many lines. And here you'll see the 180 aspect and the 0 aspect. Now, this delta X, and those labels are controlled by this format. The name is the direct Mercury and the direction and the label. So that can be edited, but you probably don't want to do that. You really have to know what the internals of NinjaTrader likes to use there. It's all part of .NET. I never mess with that, quite frankly. Directions negative. Now dot size, that's how big these dots are. And dots are used instead of lines because they're sort of universal. If I make the dot size just 1, this flux line will become very weak. In fact, you can hardly see it there. So if I make the dot size 2, there you can see it a little better. Now, delta X is how many pixels apart. And this is pixels on your screen. It has nothing to do with price or time. That just lets you space these dots out. So this is 6 pixels. If I make it, say, 20 pixels, it's going to spread those dots out like that. So you have complete control over how these lines are drawn. So label left shift. If you want these labels moved over a little bit, you can shift them, and again that's in pixels. -10. Oh, that's left shift. Minus would be a right shift, so I want to just make that 10. And there, it's moved the label over a little bit right there. So, and you can do 2 planets at a time. Let me make this dot size bigger so you can see it. And this is Mercury going down. Let me take Mercury going up. Let me change this direction to positive. And let me add in a second planet. Planet 2. This will plot the synodic, what's called the synodic cycle. Let's just do Mercury-Venus. That's a 144-day cycle. Again, popularized it with his square of 144 days. So apply that. And here you have the Mercury-Venus flux lines. And I'm going to make delta x back at 6, which is a value that I like. But you can set any value that you like. So these are the Mercury-Venus flux lines. So you can turn off these labels, or you can turn off the plot. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes you don't want to eliminate these because it may take you a while to get the parameters set up to find the flux lines that are really the ones you want. So you can turn off the labels. So if you want to show the chart to someone else, not tell them what it is, show labels. I guess I didn't set it to false. Apply. Okay, there the labels are gone, right there. And if you just want to turn off the flux lines entirely, false, apply. So there you've removed the flux lines so you can just see the basic chart. So I've shown you hard text, delta x, the direction, the dot size, the harmonic setting, label. We just use M for Mercury. These will be set automatically as you pick the planet. For example, if you pick, say, Pluto, no, I guess the label isn't set automatically. So you would want to make that say P. But of course, we don't see anything because we turned it off. So let me... Okay, so there's the planet Pluto. I still think Pluto's a planet. Got a bad rap from people decided it was too small, but energetically, it plays a huge part in price movement. So, price multipliers, you can multiply price by a scale factor. Usually I just leave that set at 1. You may find other uses for it. Show labels wheel, calculate data. There's no need to calculate these flux lines. These flux lines exist before and after data, so you don't have to compute them on bar close because these things are actually just drawn on your screen before anything else is drawn. So it's sort of like wallpaper that forms the back of your chart. Input series, and that just is what's getting plotted here. Visual, auto scale, you want to leave that at false probably. Display and data box, label, flux line. Panel, same as the input series. You want to leave that as it is. You can plot these things on a new panel, but it's basically going to encourage you to plot it on the chart itself, which is the only place it makes any sense to plot it. And scale justification will be on the right side. So the scale is actually the same as price scale from 0 to 360 repeated. So price scale goes from 0 to 360, 360 to 720, 720 to 1080, etc., all the way up. So that each 360 points up here, I call it going up one circle. So we're now sitting around up here, approaching 2800. This is interesting. This is Pluto Flux. Came down, bounced back up, couldn't make it back up, so fell down here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 steps on Pluto, trying to go up one more. So we'll see what happens. But the purpose of this tutorial is simply to show you how to use the flux lines available from Energy Field Trading. So good luck with them, and happy trading.